Section 1, Part 1. Overview and Welcome. Chapter 1, Overview and Welcome. Hi there. Welcome to You're Hired. Job search strategies that work. Make no mistake. Searching for work is work. It takes time, effort, and a lot of self-motivation to be successful in your search. While you have your skills and experience in place to be able to apply and land your dream job, or one that leads you to it, searching for a job requires a whole different set of skills. This book provides strategic techniques to maximize your job searching effectiveness. Nobody can make a promise that if you follow their program, you will be guaranteed the results you are looking for, and I won't either. However, I'm confident that if you follow the strategies outlined in this book, you will be successful in landing a job. From my experience, one of the biggest problems that job seekers often face is that they feel that they are coming from an inferior position and they don't have a lot of personal power. The belief being that the employer has the superior position and has all the power. Yes, they have the job and they have the power to give you the job, or not. What you may not realize is that many hiring managers are under similar pressures as you, the job seeker. They have the pressure of finding the right candidate for the vacancy they need to fill. They are accountable to their superiors should the person they hire not work out. It has been said that an inappropriate hire can cost the organization an additional 30 to 50% over the job position's annual wage. This would include lost productivity incurred when the new hire is oriented, the cost of advertising for new applicants, and the time taken to interview and follow up with applicants. Hiring managers are under pressure to hire the right candidate. Your task is to become the only choice. The right choice. As I mentioned earlier, we are likely not experts at searching for jobs and landing one. It isn't something we do on a regular basis. As I researched the content for this book, I found that the problem is compounded by a lack of hard facts on what are the best practices for job searching. I'm reminded of an old parable about a group of blind men that were required to touch an elephant and to describe their observations. Each one felt a different part, but only one part, such as a tusk or the trunk. When they compared notes, they learned that they were in complete disagreement. I found the same to be true when researching strategic job searching skills. Each web page from my search results on the internet spoke from the perspective of the writer, whether they were a resume writer, an employer, hiring manager, recruiter, etc. Much the same as the blind men describing what an elephant looks like, their advice is from their perspective. That makes sense to me. We all create our own reality. My reality is completely different than anyone else's. The problem is that the job search experts state their observations as hard facts. They believe what they write is absolutely true. And then it seems that the next article you read will dispute what the first expert had said, and they will present their truths. How can something be both true and false at the same time? You must never do this. You must always do this. Same advice. Can something be both yes and no? I don't consider myself an expert at job searching. What I am very good at, though, is taking subjects that people struggle with, finding better, easier ways to do things, and breaking it down to basic strategies that work. I create systems to solve problems. Years ago, I moved my family across Canada to a city where I didn't know anyone. I had a brand new home built for me, but I didn't have a job waiting for me when I got there. At the time, the new location was very hostile towards people that had moved from the east to the west coast. I often heard, "You Easterners come out here and steal our jobs." I found that jobs were limited. I found that getting an interview for a position I had applied for was like winning a lottery. I also found that my new geographical area had what they called a sunshine tax. As it is a desirable place to live, the cost of living is higher, and employers believe that they can get away with paying their employees lower wages. The idea being that you, the worker, should be grateful to have a job, and that the employer can get away with paying you less. If you don't want the job, somebody else will. I got so tired of hearing about stealing local jobs that I started to change my story when I attended local business networking events. Instead of saying that I was unemployed, I would say I had retired early. I was 39 years old, and the illusion I had retired early seemed to resolve the "you Easterners" complaint. However, I used to add, if the right job came along, I would likely consider going back to work. It was somewhat tongue-in-cheek. It took me a good 6 months to land a job. It wasn't as good a job as I had hoped for. It was definitely a compromise until something better came along. I describe my employment experience at my new location as being like a roller coaster ride. I went from being unemployed to employed. I went from not getting enough hours to getting too many. I went from being employed to being laid off. I went from being employed to being self-employed. Self-employment ended rapidly when I came back from a vacation to find that my only client had sold their business, i.e. a vocational school, and the new owners had no idea who I was or had need of my services. Back to being unemployed. Then I got a job in another city. It was a 90-mile round trip daily. I went from being at the employer's beck and call for 3 years, working as many hours as I could as a casual staff. Then I got fired. Then I got unfired and a new job, same company, a few blocks away. I went from full-time to no time to part-time to even more part-time. Then less time and even less time. I had to tell my manager that I couldn't afford to stay, and I couldn't afford to go. We solved the problem by me picking up hours from another worker who wanted to work less. The downside is that I work a lot of night shifts, and it is still a 90-mile, 150-kilometer round trip for work. I think you can see why I call it a roller coaster ride. Over the years, I have been invited to numerous job search training programs as a guest speaker, promoting the value of public speaking skills to the job search and interviewing process. As well, I share the value of professional business networking skills to build your business or to land a job. Throughout this book, I will be providing you with what I consider to be best practices for searching for a job. Some of the content may disagree with what the so-called experts would say, but then again, the next one would likely agree with me. If you are a sports fan, you will recognize that any sport has a set of rules in varying degrees of competition. Searching for a job, your job, is a competitive situation. It could come down to 2 or more possible candidates, hopefully you being one of them, having very similar credentials and qualifications. If there was ever a time that self-promotional skills and self-confidence would come into play, it would be in the job searching and interviewing process. Being able to effectively promote yourself can make the difference between landing the job and a "thank you very much, but we won't be hiring you at this time." This book is organized into sections, covering specific topics with the content and strategies being delivered in individual chapters. While each section provides specific content on a topic, it isn't necessary that you progress linearly through the book. For example, if you needed information right now on a specific topic, you could work your way through that section and its chapters, then go back to other ones at your own pace. Some of the chapters offer additional optional reading resources that can add to or help your understanding of a topic, especially where there wasn't room to expand upon the topic within the chapter. These will be featured at the end of the book, under an additional resources section. In the next chapter, we will go through a quick overview of what is covered within this book. Welcome aboard, and I hope you enjoy our journey together. Chapter 2: Overview of Topics and Content. Here is a quick overview of the topics and content we will be covering in this book. Here in Section 1, Part 1, we look at a powerful strategy tool called the PDCA model. We also look at the psychology of job searching and the power of envisioning your success. In Part 2, we dive into the topic of how to create and leverage your resume. Your resume is the backbone of your job search. In Part 3, we learn how to create and leverage your network web. Some job search coaches say that this strategy alone may very well be the most effective job search technique of them all. In Section 2, we explore how to line up your cheerleader team. These are your references that will help land you your job. In Section 3, we focus on the initial phone call from the hiring department. This is the phone call that you are waiting for. The one that invites you in for an interview. Your chance to wow them. In Section 4, we prepare for our first job interview for a position we have applied for. In Section 5, we look at 4 different personality types of job interviewers you may encounter, and tactics for dealing with each of them. In Section 6, we dig deeply into common interview questions that you may be asked, and how to make the best of your responses. In Section 7, we look at questions you should be asking your interviewer, or perhaps not. We also review job interview mistakes that others have made, so you don't make the same ones. In Section 8, we focus on the follow-up phone call. This is where you phone them to find out if they have made a hiring decision, and to keep your name front and center in their mind, if they haven't. In Section 9, we focus on working with employment agencies and recruiters. In Section 10, we explore job searching tips from the pros. In Section 11, we look at personal marketing and promotion. Section 12 offers our conclusion and final comments. In our next chapter here in Part 1, we introduce the PDCA model, a powerful strategizing tool for job searching.